Yep. And there we have it. Week 2 is in the books. But from what we saw on Sunday, just when you thought that your team was the shit, boy, they shit the bed. Yeah, that's right, man. It's any given Sunday. Y'all know how it goes, from injuries to people like Cam Akers requesting trades because he's not getting a pill over there no more. That's what happens, man, when you get 22 rushes, man, and you go for 28 yards. And then the other guy's getting 15 rushes for 100. That shows that it's you. You're the problem, not the offensive line or the offensive scheme. But yeah, man, some crazy things went down in week 2, man, and we're going to talk about it. First, we're going to go over our overachievers. Overachievers for quarterbacks this week, man. Daniel Jones is my number one. Not only is he my number one, but he was the number one quarterback in scoring on Sunday. Who would have thought Daniel Jones was going to go out there and throw up 321 passing yards for 2 TDs and run on 9 rushes for 60 yards and another TD? Who really started Daniel Jones, man? That number 2 off my board, Joshua Dobbs. Nobody started Joshua Dobbs this week. Nobody, I guarantee it. You know why I know that nobody started him? Because he's on 95% of your waiver wires. That's right. Joshua Dobbs out of Arizona went off for 228 yards against Danny Dimes, scored a TD through the air, and had 41 rushing yards for a TD. He was the number 5 quarterback out of all the quarterbacks that played this week. Number 5. Another guy, man, it there's been a lot of controversy, man, through the years, and especially recently, man, with the wife situation and just, people all in his ear, man. And I think that it is gonna take a little bit for Russ to clear his head. And Russell got a clear mind now. He also has a new offensive coordinator and a new head coach over there in Denver. Yeah. So went off for 308 and 3 TDs. He also ran the ball 6 times for 56 yards. Russell was getting it done through the air. He was getting it done on the ground. And that's against a defense that was ranked the best against the run. Russell Wilson got it in, man. If y'all got Russ out there, you might want to start thinking about putting him in your lineups. Running backs. Whew. I didn't see this coming. And I'm a man to tell y'all when I'm wrong. I was one of the main people talking about Boobie Gibson was going to be getting that rock, that Brian Robinson was probably going to be the number 2. And I'll admit when I'm wrong, I was wrong. Brian Robinson is the man over in Washington. Now, I will say that I did say that Washington was going to be awesome. They were an underdog, and everybody was writing them off. And I said that Sam Howell, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, and those 3 deadly receivers were going to be awesome this year. And they're just going to continue to get better and better. And guess what? They are. Brian Robinson was the number 1 running back this week. This guy went off for 18 rushes, 87 yards, 2 TDs, had 2 receptions, and 42 yards through the air. And he also scored a 2-point conversion. He was the number 1 running back in scoring on Sunday. Get him in your lineups. Keep him in your lineups. The man had a very, very decent week last week, and this week he blew up. I don't see anything changing. That offense is hot right now. Sam Howell got that thing rolling. So if you got Brian Robinson, man, make sure he in your lineups for week 3. Nobody's seen this one coming. Another overachiever out here, and I've been talking about him all year, Mr. DeAndre Swift, the best running back on the Eagles. And I said, all they got to do is feed that man and see what happened. And y'all seen what happened. He's better than Gainwell. He's better than Scott. He's by far the best running back on that roster. Give him the rock. Let him make moves in space. Let him make moves with no space. And he was doing all of that on Thursday. Man, that boy DeAndre Swift went off for 28 rushes, 175 yards, 3 receptions. Hey, what much more can you ask from a running back for 175 yards? 175 yards, D Swift? Is that how you feel, baby? Yeah, let's go. Raheem Mostert, number 3 on my list, who you also been hearing come out my mouth on a regular. He's part of the track meet, 22 mile per hour, 4.3. Raheem Mostert went off this week with 18 rushes, 121 yards, 2 TDs, and he had a reception for a couple yards. Raheem Mostert needs to be in starting lineups. I'm not saying he's your RB1, but I'm definitely saying he's your RB2. Keep him in your lineup. He shouldn't be on the bench. I don't care what those projections say. We need to start thinking about what we see with our eyes and stop worrying about what people are projecting. Honorable mention, I got to throw this guy out there. Cam Akers, 22 rushes for 28 yards. And he expects to continue to get the workload over there. Kyron Williams outshined him on the same day he had those 22 carries last Sunday. What you think happened? Coach this guy's way more of an efficient runner than you are. He's going to get the start. Cam acts up, has a fit, requests a trade, inactive for the week. Guy wasn't even playing. You might as well put him at the bottom of your roster and hope that he goes to a place that really needs a running back. Because other than that, Cam Akers, he's done for 2023. You heard it from here first. Kyron Williams went off for 14 rushes, 52 yards, a touchdown, but more impressively, had 10 targets through the air, 6 receptions, 48 yards, and a touchdown. So this man had 2 touchdowns, 14 rushes, and 10 targets. They try to get this man the ball 25 times. If Kyron Williams is on your team, he best to be in your lineup in week 3. We're going to go with Nico Collins, wide receiver, for number 1 wide receiver off the board. I could have went who we'll talk about at number 2, but I want to go Nico because nobody was getting Nico. Nico's still on the waiver wire right now. I guarantee he will be the number 1 receiver coming off that waiver wire in week 3. You heard it from me first. Nico Collins went off for 7 receptions, 146 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. Man, that man is an animal, and I don't see nothing stopping. The rookie is looking his way every time, and it shows. He had a decent game last week, blow-up game this week. He's here to stay. You heard it from Hasu. Number 2, Puka. Oh, my God. Puka goes off last week, the number 1 pickup in the waivers. And everybody's wondering this week, should I start him? Should I sit him? Should I see if he goes off again? Maybe he has a down game. The man had a better game than he did last week. 20 targets. Stop it. 20 targets. Man had 15 receptions and 147 yards. If that ain't the new Cooper Kupp, I don't know what is. When Cooper comes back, I don't see this guy having any problems with getting 10 to 12 targets along with Cooper. Those guys are going to be a menace, and straight animal. And Matthew Stafford, you might want to start thinking about getting him on your team, putting him on your bench. That way, when Cooper gets back, you're looking like a genius. Hey, you heard it from me at the end of week 2. Third receiver. This is a guy that nobody heard of. He's on 99% of waiver wires right now. Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds over there in Detroit had a solid week last week. Comes back this week with another solid week. 5 receptions, 66 yards, 2 TDs, the number 7 receiver on the week. Josh Reynolds. Who's going to pick him up? I am. So we're going to go to tight ends, everybody. Tight ends, Hunter Henry was my number 1 tight end overachiever this week. Hunter was the number 2 overall in scoring. Ended up with 6 receptions, 52 yards, and a TD. I didn't go with a guy that had high points a lot or the higher points because of touchdowns. I went with the guy that's getting high volume as far as targets, and that's going to be, he was number 10 this week, Zach Ertz. All the guys that scored more points than him maybe had 2-3 receptions, 3 or 4 targets, but they scored a touchdown. So their point total was maybe 1 point more. I went with him because he's consistently seeing 8 to 10 targets a game over in Arizona. They don't got much there but Hollywood Brown and James Conner. So Ertz is becoming a number 2 in the pass game. And because of that, he earned himself 6 receptions and 56 yards this week. And I don't see that changing. Yeah. So if Zach Ertz is out there on your waiver wire and you're having tight end problems, I go pick him up. Underachievers for week 2, man. You know we always going to have some overachievers and we're always going to have some underachievers. That's just how NFL football works. It's any given Sunday. So for underachievers, quarterbacks, here we go. Number 1, Joe Burrow. I know y'all been hearing his name come out my mouth. I know I told you guys to sit him this week. I told you to sit him because the continuity is not going to come back in 7 days. Was I right? Yes, I was. Deep in the third quarter with 100 yards passing. That's it, Joe? That's it? Joe ends up with 222 yards through the air, 2 TDs and an interception. He was the number 21 quarterback in scoring this week. Meaning if you were in a 20-man league, he still wouldn't have been one of the highest scoring quarterbacks. And who has a 20-man league? We're in 10 and 12-man leagues, right? So Joe Burrow is number 21, meaning he should have been sitting on your bench. I hope you listened to Hot Soup and you didn't start him. Justin Fields, it hurts to say, I was at the Bears game watching this man with 6 seconds in the backfield to throw the ball, going through reads, and just couldn't pull the trigger, man. I don't know what to say, man. I was hurt. I was disgruntled. I didn't understand. Like, are they telling him not to run? Justin Fields had 4 rushes for 3 yards. 4 rushes for 3 yards? Come on, Jay. We got to do better than that, man. We went and got you a weapon in DJ Moore. You got to let that thing go. It's not looking good in Chicago, man. Justin Fields, number 20 quarterback overall, man. He's my number 2 on the list. I hate them. I love the Bears. Look at me, man. Y'all come on, man. Look at me. Look at me. Come on. It's Hot Soup. Come on, baby. Got my own Bears jersey. Hurts. Number 3, quarterback. Underachiever this week. And he was number 12 overall, so it's not really underachieving but for Patrick Mahomes to be the number 12 overall, that's underachieving. Patrick Mahomes should be in the top 5 every week. That's what we drafted him for. That's why we draft him number 1 when we're in fantasy drafts every year. We do it because this guy throws up 4,500, 5,000 yards a season, and he's just not doing that this season, man. Had 2 touchdowns and a pick. 305 yards through the air. If that's a Derek Carr day, hey, we'll take it. This is Patty Mahomes, baby. He's supposed to have 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. This is a whole game. Come on, Patty. You got to do better over there in KC. And he had his weapon back. I don't want to hear the critics. Oh, well, he ain't got Kelsey. He had Kelsey. Yeah. We got to get that boy some weapons. Running backs. Oh, number 1 running is hurt. It hurts because I had him starting in a couple of my leagues. Josh Jacobs, man. I'm about to hit y'all with this stat line. And when I saw the stat line, I was looking like I was trying to rub the negative sign on the yardage off of this computer screen. Like, is that a bug? What is that? No, that is a negative 2 yards. 9 rushes for negative 2 yards. Josh Jacobs, come on, baby. We got to do better than that, man. Got to do better. Negative 2 yards, 5 receptions, 51 yards. That's where he got his points this week. I think he ended up with 6.5 points. Number 23rd running back this week in scoring points, standard leagues, Josh Jacobs. Number 2 was even worse than Josh Jacobs. Y'all ready for that? Travis Etienne. Yeah. And y'all, all the sports guys had him high ranking. Oh, Etienne's going to go off this week. He's going to do this. Matthew Berry, all the big names. Yeah. Man went off for 12 rushes, 40 yards, 2 receptions, and 2 yards. That man had 42 yards total. 5.2 points, ended up number 33 running back and scoring this week. Travis Etienne, womp, 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 womp. Yeah. Number 3, Javonte Williams. And I told y'all last week, sit him. Okay? Samaje Perine didn't even get the rock this week. So it was Javonte's show. But as I said, going against Washington's strong defense, he's not going to have a good week. And sure enough, he ends up number 24 running back overall, 12 rushes, 44 yards, 2 receptions for 14 yards. Man didn't even hit 60 yards total. And he had the show in his hands. So might want to start listening to Hot Soup, man. That's all I'm saying. Receivers, number 1 receiver. And I told y'all about Cincinnati's offense right now. It's not clicking. Joe Burrow was out for 4 weeks with that calf strain. And what's even worse is he restrained his calf. It's not looking good for Cincy in the first half of the NFL season. Jamar Chase was going number 2 overall. I saw some where he was going number 1 over Justin Jefferson this year. Boy, those people who picked Jamar Chase heavy this year, ooh, I feel sorry for y'all. Now, that's not to say that when we need it in the playoffs, that Jamar Chase ain't going to go ape shit. We already know that when it's playoff time, Joe Burrow, when it's fantasy football playoff time, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have been league winners for the last 2 years in a row. I went in last year thinking, oh man, I'm about to scrape this dude, boom, boom, boom. And Joe Burrow throws up 6 touchdown passes. Jamar Chase catches 3 of them. And I'm talking about just takes me out by themselves, man. I get knocked out of 3 or 4 playoffs runs because of Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. They have been giving me headaches for 2 years now. In week 2, week 3, and maybe even into week 4, these guys are all benches for me. Just my opinion. Until that continuity comes back. Jamar Chase had 5 receptions, 31 yards, 61st overall receiver. That means that if you have 3 receivers starting on each team in a 10-man league, meaning 2 receivers and their flex as a receiver, that's 30 receivers. You could have a whole nother league and put a whole nother 30 receivers, different set of 30 receivers that score more points than Jamar Chase this week. I said it. Rough sliding right now for y'all Jamar Chase owners. Number 2 on my board is Brandon Ayuk. Boy, it was a lot of talk after week 1 about Brandon Ayuk is the number 1 and this is this, and that, and it's other options over there in San Fran. He's not always going to be that guy. You know, y'all just have to understand that. Just because somebody blows up don't mean it's going to be that way for the rest of the season. Okay, people have lucky games. People have good games. They have bad games. It's any given Sunday. This man went off for 3 receptions and 43 yards. And that's it. Nothing else. No TDs, no nothing, man. Come on, Ayuk. Can we get a rush for 5 yards, 10 yards? Something. Yeah, I was one of the ones who started him, but I had him benched in a couple leagues as well. Benched him for number 3 on my list, Mr. Calvin Ridley. Yeah. Who knew that Calvin Ridley would go off like he did week 1, come back and lay a 8-target, 2-reception day for 32 yards? I did, if y'all would have watched. But we could talk more about that. Y'all come check me out on I Told You So, week 2. Week 2, I told you so. Come check me out on Monday, man, and I'm going to give you a rundown on those people I told you to bench or those people I told you to start, and I'm going to say, I told you so. Number 1, the benching of Joe Burrow. All the commentators this week. Oh, Joe Burrow's going to have a bounce back game. He's going to throw for 304 TDs. He's going to go off. Jamar Chase is going to have a comeback game. T. Higgins, they're going to blow up. They're going to blow up. And if you go back and you see my sits, number 1 on my board was Joe Burrow. And the reason I say this is, and I'm going to say it again, is he was out for 4 weeks, man, during the preseason with the calf strain. Okay. Not working with the 1s, not working with the 2s, not working with anyone. He's trying to get his calf right. Right. So you get into the NFL with no preseason, you get into the NFL regular season, and the continuity is not going to be there. I don't care how great you are. You have to know your receivers. You have to be consistently working with those receivers if you want to be in rhythm. So me knowing this, I wasn't going to start anybody from Cincinnati. All right. So with Joe Burrow right now, Joe Burrow threw up 222 yards in the air, and he got most of that in the 4th quarter. I mean, going into the 3rd quarter, he was midway through the 3rd quarter with 100 yards passing. They shut that man down, and he had a terrible week last week. So he's getting better. But overall, Joe Burrow right now, 222 yards through the air, 2 TDs and an interception. That's not Joe Burrow-ish. That's Joe Burrow-ish. But, you know, I try to tell y'all, I told you so. Javonte Williams, number 2 on my list. I try to tell y'all, man, that Russell would be airing it out this game. They were going against Washington. Washington's run defense, awesome right now. Those front 4, them linebackers, man, they getting it done. And I already knew that Javonte Williams wasn't going to be able to really run too much on that Denver or on that I didn't think that Javonte Williams would be running on that Washington defense. He ended up with 14 touches overall. He had, I think, 44 yards on the ground, 14 through the air. So he didn't even hit 60 yards total. 6.8 points total. Russell Wilson had Jared Judy back. You know he was trying to stretch the field. He had Mims stretching the field this week. Russell Wilson was a top 3 quarterback this week because of that. I named it all, and I tried to tell y'all so last week. Hope you didn't start Javonte Williams. If you did, you should have listened to me because I told you so. And I was trying to tell y'all last week, Ridley would be getting doubled. There's no way this guy's going to go off like he is, and defense is just going to continue to let him just go off on him. It's not happening. They had a defensive scheme written up for Ridley, double teaming them. I told y'all it was either going to be Zay Jones or it's going to be Christian Kirk. One of those two was going to go slap off. And sure enough, Christian Kirk goes off for 11 receptions, 110 yards. Calvin Ridley ended up with 2 receptions, 32 yards on 8 targets. They was all over that man. Man, they was not going to let that man beat them that day. Christian Kirk finally got the ball, finally got the rock thrown to him, and he handled business. We'll see what happens next week, but I hope you guys did not start Calvin Ridley. I hope you listened to what I was saying, and I told you so. And that's it for over and unders and your I told you so. Come check us out at the end of the week for our starts, top 5 starts, top 5 sits on the week. It's Hot Soup Fantasy Football. I'll see y'all soon.